What's up, MFFLs? Happy Wednesday here. Harrison Graham with another episode of Dallas Mavericks Today. We got some rumors that we're going to get to here on today's show. But first, let's talk about the front office. It appears that the Mavs are in advanced talks to add to the front office, get Nico Harrison some help with a former NBA general manager, which, quite frankly, I think makes a lot of sense. You know, Nico was obviously what's the phrase you want to use? Kind of a non-traditional hire, if you will, not a ton of basketball operations experience. Here's Marc Stein with the report. He says that the Mavs are in advanced discussions to hire former Jazz lead exec Dennis Lindsey in a consultant's role to Nico Harrison to bolster their front office, league sources tell Stein there. I think getting a guy with experience like this makes sense. I think that's a good sign because, look, let's be honest, Nico, I mean, what's the grade at this point? I mean, it's hard to put everything on one guy, but, you know, they brought him in with the Nike connection. I don't think that's necessarily paid off. So if that hasn't helped you get good talent, then what is his value actually been? He's still learning what it's like to be a general manager in the NBA. So getting a guy in here that's actually done the damn job before probably makes a lot of sense. You look at Lindsey's history, his resume here, spent 6 years with the Rockets org from 02 to 07, which, by the way, they had some good talent, getting guys like T-Mac, Yao Ming, etc. Assistant GM with the Spurs, oh yeah, they won a lot of games. With the Jazz, oh yeah, those teams won a lot of games as well. So it's not like he's a guy with experience, but he's been a part of roster building that's been garbage. No, like he's been on with good organizations and has identified good talent and brought that talent to those organizations. Here's Marc Stein on his Substack saying, Nico Harrison has been looking for an experienced sounding board voice to join the Mavericks in a consultant's role dating to last offseason. This is a pivotal summer in Dallas with the Mavs not only faced with trying to re-sign Kyrie Irving in free agency, but addressing well-chronicled concerns about its interior and wing defense and rebounding. And look, I like that Nico is kind of looking himself in the mirror and being like, hey, I know what my limitations are. I don't have a history of building a roster. Yeah, I have connections to certain athletes with my history at Nike, but I haven't built a roster. I haven't manipulated or I haven't worked with the salary cap before. So bringing in a guy that can do that makes sense. But if Mark Cuban is kind of going all Jerry Jones and running the show, does it matter? I don't think that's necessarily the case, but obviously Cuban's always going to have a voice. We know that. So we'll see if this ends up being a positive. I do like the idea on paper, all about how it all works together, though, in the front office. Grade the Lindsey hire if it were to happen. A, B, C, D, or F. I actually do like it. I'd probably give it an A minus because, again, you're getting an established voice in your front office from a well-liked guy, and Dennis Lindsey here. So A, B, C, D, or F, drop a letter grade in the comments. Even though the season is over, our coverage is probably ramping up. We're still talking Mavs, several videos per week, so go ahead and subscribe today. It's youtube.com/MavsTV. Do not miss any of our coverage here on the channel. News, rumors, free agency. Now we get to talk some draft as well. So we've got you covered throughout the playoffs and throughout the offseason. All right, let's go to some Bleacher Report trade rumors here. Bleacher Report dropped an article naming one trade target each team that missed the playoffs could take a look at. And guess what? Here we go again, because time is a flat circle here on Mavericks Today. Myles Turner was the player Bleacher Report mentioned the Mavs should trade for. I will say I'm actually a little surprised this time because he did sign a contract extension, so that would lead one to believe that Indiana doesn't want to move him. Now, that doesn't mean that'll be the case, of course. Did get that extension, so that means he can't be traded until July 29th, so that's down the road. Now, the Pacers aren't necessarily contending. I don't know why they're as far away from contending that they are. I mean, I like some of their pieces. I like Halliburton. I like Turner. I think Buddy Hield's a nice piece, but clearly that has not all come together with former Mavs head coach Rick Carlisle for whatever reason. So maybe they would be open to the idea of trading Turner, even though they just committed to keeping him for a few more years. Here's Bleacher Report saying Dallas should have its eyes on Turner, who'd bring rim protection and some switchability to a defense that has a little of both, or has little of both. But can it come up with an offer that piques Indy's interest? Suppose Dallas package its 2023 first-round pick, which has almost an 80% chance of keeping with Davis Bertans, salary filler there, and then Jaden Hardy or Josh Green. Might that intrigue Indiana? And that's where it gets tough, right? Like, I don't want to move Jaden Hardy. You could probably talk me into Josh Green, but the only way I'm doing that is if I add a solid 3-and-D guy. And where are you going to do that if you trade these assets? So I think that comes a little bit sticky as well. But Turner had a great year. I mean, he was really good. He stayed healthy, which I think is important. 18 points, 7.5 rebounds. He's consistently near the top of the list in blocks per game. I mean, the efficiency this year was awesome. Shot the ball well from three. It gives you what Christian Wood does offensively, but he's an elite defender, which Christian Wood is not. So that is kind of what the upgrade would look like here. It would be great. We've said that for years. It's not going to happen, I don't think. Again, they just extended him. And if you're the Mavericks, you can't afford to wait until almost August to try and make a big move like this. I mean, you just can't operate that way. This summer's too critical with the draft in late June and free agency starting, June 30th, July 1st, whatever it is. You can't be thinking, oh, well, in 4 weeks we'll trade for Myles Turner. Like, that's just not a way you can move if you are Cuban, Nico, Kidd, and anyone else involved in these decisions. Now, would you trade for Myles Turner if he was available? Type T for trade, P for pass. I probably would, but again, am I waiting an extra month to do it? Am I taking that risk? Probably not. Maybe it's more like a midseason trade next year if the Pacers stink again, but we'll have to wait and see. Get yourselves a Real One t-shirt. If you're a Mavs fan, despite the struggles, if you're still dialed in, that makes you a real one. Things are tough right now around this organization, but you still got to stay loyal. If you are, that makes you a real one. Chatsports.com/real one. We got navy, we got black. We even got green ones that are similar to that Mavs green if you want to check those out. Chatsports.com/real one. Check the comments, check the description on today's video to click and shop today. All right, speaking of Christian Wood, what's the latest there? Obviously, the expectation is that bringing him back is very unlikely, but could that change? I won't completely rule it out. You look at his numbers last year. Again, he's kind of the example of the raw numbers don't really tell the story. Now, I will still defend Christian Wood some because Jason Kidd, in my opinion, did not give him a fair shake. Just my opinion. Some people would disagree, but he was pretty consistently your second or third best offensive player all year, and they just would not play him in critical juncture. I didn't understand that, especially for a team that wasn't that good to begin with. Now, he's an efficient scorer. You just saw the stats. But the question, too, why didn't he play more is, well, number one, Jason Kidd didn't trust him, but I think he was definitely a defensive liability for most of the year. There was like a stretch in like December, January where he played okay defensively, but for the most part, they clearly didn't trust him there, which is why they would play Pal or Cleveland crunch time. But I still would have played him more, but I think it's pretty clear that that ship is probably sailed. Now, here's Nico Harrison on Christian Wood. He says, I mean, that's really more of a coaching question than me. I don't dole out minutes just because you're an efficient scorer. There's more to the game than just that, so I think it's important to note that. So he's kind of echoing what we're saying is, yeah, the offensive impact is clear, but Kidd didn't trust him, especially to defend in crunch time, and that's the bottom line, and that's what limited his role at the end of the day. Is that a major, missed opportunity, pulling the trigger on that trade? I don't really think so. I mean, they didn't give up a ton for him, salary filler guys plus one pick, but it is a bummer that it didn't work out because I like the trade on paper, and I still think he could have had a bigger impact than he ended up having, but again, if the coach doesn't trust you, you're not going to play. I mean, that's just how it goes. What do you guys think? Should Dallas re-sign C. Wood, type Y for S, in for no? I'm open to it. I was talking to producer Coop about this. What if his market dries up and it's July 20th and he hasn't signed and money has dried up? What if you can get him back for $5 million, $6 million? In that scenario, I think bringing him back could happen, but you got to think a team out there is going to give him at least the mid-level, if not a little bit more. So in that scenario, probably have to let him go. Y for yes and for no. Get your votes in. We'll see you next time here on Mavericks Today.